and he, of course, he said Islam was the religion of peace, which is a ridiculous thing to say, but one knows why he said it. I'll give him points for saying it. He said it at the mosque in Washington. I was there. I know why he said it. It's still a fatuous remark. But he knows, whether he understands it or not, that the only allies the United States has in Afghanistan and in Iraq and now in Lebanon and elsewhere, increasingly, are the secular forces. It counts as an irony of history, but the success of Bush's foreign policy depends on the success of secularism in the Muslim world. And that's why it's appalling to see so many liberals making excuses for bin Ladenism and jihadism as if it was some kind of fucking liberation theology, which it is not. It's the most reactionary ideology in the history of the human race. It means business, it means slavery, it means mass murder, it means bigotry, it means the abolition of culture. And there are people who say we have to understand its deep-seated nature, which we certainly do, but not by apologizing to or retreating from it. The President's got that bit right. Good for him. To that extent, I'm on his side.
Oh, Christopher, on the point of secularism, could you speak to some extent on your recent trip to Iran and about what you wrote in Vanity Fair?
Yes, our host asked me to say what I found in Iran when I was there. I've now become the only writer to have been in the last, in this century, let's say, the last 4 years, to Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. So you can ask me any axis of evil question that you like. And I keep thinking, there must be some money in this somewhere. But in Iran, there's the most extraordinary state of dual power, really. The mulocracy, the Khomeini-founded theocratic dictatorship, holds the country in trust. It believes it owns Iran and all the people in it. It operates on a theory of government that's called the vilayat-i-faqih, which is the trusteeship of the clergy. The clergy are everybody's parents. They own the country. They are the parents of everybody in it. They decide who can run for election and who can win. They decide what can be published and what cannot. They have a simulacrum of an open society. But it's a bogus system, and when it's challenged, it resorts to violence and sadism. And it still considers, of course, 50% of the Iranian population to be beneath contempt. That's the state of the female half. It threw away so many people in its hysterical war with Saddam Hussein by the human wave tactic, the obscene suicide, we love death tactic. This is what it really means in practice. It means you take children out of school and you put them in the front line and you shove them across the minefield towards Saddam Hussein's machine guns, which are not going to be sentimental about children, you know that, to clear the mines and to try and clear the barbed wire. That's what it means. They lost maybe 1.5 million of their kids that way. At the end of which, they had to admit defeat, discover that God wasn't on their side, which I could have told them. But did they listen? No. And to say, well, we'll pay every woman in Iran an extra several thousand riyals because they have an oil price that allows the subsidy of a great number of things, if they'll have 3 or more children. So they got a sudden, they're back up to population now. And it's what I call the baby boomerang. Because the children who were born at this time, and who are now, we think the best estimates are that about 50% of the Iranian population is under 25, all hate the mullahs, hate them, and hate the ghastly rule that they, so the regime that spawned them is being turned on by them. They all want to live in California. They all have satellite dishes. They all know what's going on. They all want to read, they want to travel, they want to be able to hold hands with someone who isn't an immediate relative. Because if it's not an immediate relative, you can be flogged right then and there.
Or hanged on a crane.
Or hanged on a crane, or, if it's really serious, and if you're sentenced to death, as you may know, Islamic juridical law says you cannot be sentenced to death if you're a virgin. So they rape them before they hang them, so they're not virgins when they hang. Okay. Believe me, all this goes on. Bear it in mind the next time someone tells you to know what their grievances are. That's what their grievance is. There are unveiled women around the place. East Timor has been freed from Indonesian control. That's their grievance. Just, yes, by all means, study what their grievances are. And bear in mind what they, if you wonder what they have in mind for you, see what they've got in mind for Iranians. So, this is going to be a big battle in Iran. There's going to be tremendous tussle there. And once again, I believe that the President has declared in advance that we're on the right side of it. and should be praised for doing so.
A question for
This gentleman, I promised I wouldn't do it, but he's really had his hand up for an awfully long time.
Well, I've been curious all day. I was thinking about asking you what your thoughts were as a historian and a scholar about the state of human intelligence. Do you think it's getting better or worse?
Well,
given all your subjects tonight.
I mean, I'm hoping for the artificial because the real is pretty disappointing. I mean,
Can you give a praise?
just as I have a fetus in my own freezer waiting for the stem cell, I'm holding out for stem cells. Anything, it's like people saying, the Catholics say we're against artificial contraception. Yeah, the one that works. Artificial intelligence might be that good. I only say it's possible. We are a very poor species as it happens now. I mean, anyone who examines themselves with any honesty has to know that the theory of evolution is correct. Not every theory, there are several theories. It's not true to say evolution is only a theory. There are many competing theories of evolution. We know that it occurred, though. We just don't know exactly how and why in each case. But our prefrontal lobes are too small, much too small. That's the problem with the birth canal, I'm very sorry to say, for those who like their birth canals tight. For which I think there'll always be a demand. Were there to be looser ones, the skull could have a chance to improve. Prefrontal lobe is too fucking small. Okay? The adrenaline gland, by contrast, is much too big. We don't need that much adrenaline anymore. We don't need the fight or flight. We're equipped for far more adrenaline than we need. The oppositional thumb is a bit of a sort of hand job. It's all very disappointing. The urinary tract don't start. All of that. So we're very imperfectly evolved mammals, but we have all we've got is the poor candle of reason and irony. But until we stop being afraid of death or the dark, we will, I think, continue to be very primitive. And the moments of enlightenment will be very few and very vulnerable. And so we should cherish the ones that we do have and not allow them to be trampled upon by barbarians and Philistines and creeps and pukes and kindred cattle. It's important.
Who's next?
I have a question.
Question?
Getting back to the Jefferson book, I've read some articles by a few historians, and they speculate that Jefferson was an atheist. Do you concur or disagree, or what are your thoughts on that?
Gentleman wants to know if I think Jefferson was an atheist. My answer is provisionally yes. I mean, I've already given you the warning, how biographers mustn't do this. He never said he was. He would attend public services, it's true to say. But he was a politician at the time. There was no way of not doing that. He defended Thomas Paine, who was under great attack for being an atheist, but actually Paine wasn't an atheist either. Or didn't say he was. Again, it was going a little further than anyone dared. Or, in pre-Darwinian times, than anyone quite knew. When he's dying, which I think is the test, as the Christians of the time thought it was a test, we certainly know he wasn't a Christian, because he said that he faced his extinction with neither hope nor fear. Now, if you have neither hope nor fear, you're undoubtedly not a Christian. No man of the cloth was allowed anywhere near the bedside. And the headstone, the obelisk, which you may have seen at Charlottesville and elsewhere, reproduced, very specifically says only that he wanted to be remembered as author of the Virginia Statute on Religious Freedom, of the Declaration of Independence, and founder of the University of Virginia. Didn't think anything else is worth mentioning. I would say that's the gravestone of an unbeliever.